The Supreme Court generally is supposed to move at deliberative speed, tortoise-like speed. Not with Trump. Trump's trying to use the shadow docket and emergency applications to pressurize and pressure the United States Supreme Court, and it's having an impact and having an effect. They don't have time for their deliberative process. They don't have time to work the hallways and try to get votes. They don't have time to circulate opinions. They don't have the time to be the United States Supreme Court, and that's what Donald Trump wants. But sometimes the Supreme Court says, you know what? We're going to have an oral argument on something, and we're going to do it for the public to hear. Next one, May 15th. It's about birthright citizenship and whether judges have the right to nationwide injunctions. In fact, or to impose nationwide injunctions. It's important. It's a tool in the toolbox of federal judges, and it may be removed as early as right after May 15th. We'll cover it only on the Legal AF podcast. Take a listen.
Let's talk briefly, Michael Popok, very briefly, about just the Supreme Court setting these oral arguments and when they're taking place. The two biggies on May 15th, we'll have them both live on the Legal AF channel, on the Midas Touch channel. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll arm wrestle over whether it goes both or whether we give the Legal AF channel the exclusive. We could have that conversation. Maybe we'll just give it to Legal AF. It's all good.
You come on Legal AF and do it with me there.
Well, because I see where Popok's views. We'll talk about whether it goes on both. Who knows? Supreme Court moves. So the birthright citizenship case, Donald Trump wants to overturn birthright citizenship. Multiple cases where the district courts have stayed or stopped Donald Trump from unilaterally declaring birthright citizenship as being unconstitutional, even though it's written into the Constitution. That goes to the United States Supreme Court. I mean, my view is the Supreme Court will hear our oral argument on May 15th. It should be pretty clear that birthright citizenship is in the Constitution. I think the Supreme Court is bringing that case up to smack Trump down. I could be naive. The Supreme Court tends to always let us down, but it seems like at least an issue where Justice Roberts gave the warning in December in his annual report about compliance with court orders and things like this. I view this as, and again, maybe very naively, and so I'll admit it could be naivety, but given all of these events and the Supreme Court's ruling that we just saw at 1 a.m., I think on these easier questions like birthright citizenship, the Supreme Court's going to use it to assert a little bit more authority on an easy one. And then on the nationwide injunctions, I don't know how they're going to rule, but they set a hearing on whether nationwide injunctions are valid or not. It should be noted that the Trump regime relied on nationwide injunctions to derail the Biden administration's efforts to do things like restore people's rights, protect women's reproductive rights, cancel student debt. The Trump regime would run to a Northern District of Texas judge. He'd issue a nationwide injunction. Now that the power has shifted, now the Republicans are against the very tool that they used throughout the Biden regime. But that's just who the Republicans are. I mean, for them, it's all games. But Popok, it often backfires for them. Assume they win this, and Trump's uses this to inflict more Project 2025 stuff. The Democrats win in the midterms. The Democrats win in 2028. People look back at the disaster that Trump's caused on the economy and Musk, and we go, we're never going back. At the end of the day, if you can't have crazy Trump judges issue nationwide injunctions in a future administration of Democrats or pro-democracy people, if you have a long-term perspective of it, you can see a world where this could ultimately backfire for them, even if they get what they want. And the ACLU, all of these legal groups, other than the firms that have tapped out and bent the knee, and now they're all internally fighting because they're like, but Trump's now telling us to do things that we didn't say in the deal. Yeah, when you give in to an extortionist, they go and take more from you, big firms that kiss the ring. But anyway, the broader point I'm making is a lot of great legal talent on the pro-democracy side that upholds the law, a lot of bad legal talent on the Trump regime side, like idiot lawyers, bad lawyers, Alina Habba type people. So ultimately, if you don't have nationwide injunctions, but you have the ability to file in the different districts very quickly and then go right to the Supreme Court, as we saw the ACLU do here, it's an important one, Popok, but to me, it's not. I don't rank it with birthright citizenship. But,
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think on the nationwide injunction, you hear Donald Trump against it, but then I heard him complaining about, well, we're going to have 500,000 habeas corpus petitions all around because of we're back to Sleepy Joe again. Sleepy Joe Biden, we have to have 500,000. I was like, I don't know. You could have one class action in D.C. Wouldn't that be a lot easier for everybody? And then get to this. You're going to get to the Supreme Court one way or the other, whether it's a conflict between various jurisdictions or districts, or it's a class action. You're going to get there one way or the other. I don't understand and I think all the rigmarole is about on the other than it's a Project 2025 thing, because they used it very successfully, as you pointed out, to tie up the Biden administration in knots on some key issues. And they had no problem doing the Texas two-step, doing, Northern District of Texas, let's get Kaczmarek. He's the only judge there, and we'll form an organization on Doctors for Hippocratic Oath that's never existed before, and we'll incorporate them in Abilene, Texas, or Amarillo, Texas, and then we'll file it with Kaczmarek, and then we'll go to the Fifth Circuit, and then we'll go to the Supreme Circuit. Well, what was wrong with that? And then when we do it, it's like, oh, hold it. Nationwide injunctions, you say? We don't allow that anymore. Now, the Supreme Court level, Gorsuch doesn't like nationwide injunctions, and he's got at least 2 votes for that. But look at when you don't have them. I don't even understand birthright citizenship and the nationwide injunction problem when you put the two things together. Because what are you trying to tell me? That the judge in California who issued a nationwide injunction, he had to limit it to the state of California. So if you're lucky enough to be born there, you're a U.S. citizen. But if you're not in one of these other states, you're not. You have to have nationwide injunctions on key constitutional precepts. I don't understand how you wouldn't have that. And we're watching the problem with no nationwide injunctions play out in our first segment today about the removal of these Venezuelans to El Salvador. Southern District is they're grounded, but Northern District, they had to run to the Supreme Court. Colorado, it's like, seriously, let's get the issues teed up. Let's get it up to a court of appeals. Let's get it over to a Supreme Court. And if you think you can win, the better person's argument is going to win, depending upon how you're counting the votes on the United States Supreme Court. So this gamesmanship, of venue forum shopping, which the Republicans have been masterful at, although we're doing it too. The Democrats, the moderates are doing it too. Of course, we're following all our cases in California and the New England, the original 13 colonies and DC, and we're staying away from Florida and Texas and Louisiana and all those places. I was just in court the other day in a hearing, and the judge used a phrase I hadn't heard, but I understood immediately. He said, it's the goose gander problem. You got a goose gander problem. Yeah, it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And why they don't want to, we're going to have at the rate we're going, the lamest of lame duck presidents and Donald Trump at the midterm. I seriously believe that. I think these things that are happening now, these cosmic F-ups in the first 80 days, which you and I haven't even cataloged yet, but we have in separate places, that is searing, and the economy being trashed is seared into the brain of voters at the midterm, which will just be a referendum about Trump. Forget, there's no Kamala, there's no Sleepy Joe. It's Trump, up or down, R or D. That's it. And he's going to lose badly at the rate he's going. And we're going to make sure that happens here with the community and fellowship that we've created. At the same time, the presidency, listen, Democrats have done a lot of stupid things in their life, but if they lose this presidency off of this administration, wow. So if they get the presidency back, you telling me the Republicans don't want nationwide injunctions to drive President fill in the blank crazy? They do. That's that. Birthright citizenship, I don't know. Call me cockeyed optimist, popium, whatever people accuse me of peddling. I just don't see the Supreme Court getting 5 votes to change the U.S. Constitution from an interpretive standpoint about subject to the jurisdiction thereof. I'm using Ben's voice. I don't know why. And twist that out of contortion to shape and recognition and make that mean, well, you're here, your mother or your father. And even though you're born in a birthing center in America, you're not an American, even though the 14th Amendment says you are. I just don't see this Supreme Court writing that as their obituary. Welcome back. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. That's a clip from a full-length podcast we do, and we call it Legal AF for a reason. And if you didn't know why, well, now you do. I co-founded it almost 5 years ago with Ben Meiselas of the Meiselas Network, and we've been doing it without missing an episode every day, every week for the last 5 years. Go back and look. We've never missed one episode. I think we're already up to a couple thousand episodes. Each one different. Each one builds on itself, but each one can be absorbed and enjoyed independently. If you know about Legal AF, thank you for being part of our audience. If you don't, that's your personal invitation from me, Michael Popok, to you to join us. There's a couple of ways to support the podcast. People ask, how can we support the podcast, Popok? I meet them on the street. I'm happy to say that happens to me. I tell them, look, there's a ranking chart. We got to move up that ranking chart and signal to the algorithmic gods that we're important and that you find us important. The brothers are number 1 on the Midas Touch Network, number 1 podcast in the world. But we're number 10. It's hard to believe, but I want to leap from number 10 to number 2 on the podium. I want to get the silver behind the brothers. And the only way I can do that is with your help. So listen to the podcast on audio podcast platforms. Watch the podcast over on YouTube for Midas Touch. And then the other way is to support our YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN. There's a subscribe button. Hit it. Well, if you can't hit it, go out and find it. Hit it. Help us continue our march. We want to hit 1 million subscribers before our 1-year anniversary. And we're getting there with your help. We're doing about 70 to 80,000 subscribers every month being added onto our content. 12 videos or so a day. Amazing contributors, all curated by me, Michael Popok. So until my next report, this is Michael Popok for Legal AF. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.